Hello, everyone, and welcome to David and Jeff's Survivor Podcast. I'm David, and with me, as always, is.
Jeff,
How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm wonderful. How are you today, David?
I'm doing great. I know there's been a lot of mixed reactions about this most recent episode. I sort of enjoyed watching it. I like how this episode was just one giant setup and build up for the next episode.
Yeah.
Some people may find that frustrating that there was no payoff at the end, but for me, I'm just like, all right, this is like the preparing for war episode, and next week we get to see the war. In
Yeah,
my
I
mind.
agree. I really
So
enjoyed this episode as well.
I personally enjoyed it, and you know what? I like this season. I know there's been a lot of people saying this is a bad season. This is a dud of a season. I don't fully see that. Do I think it's the greatest season ever? No. But I thoroughly have enjoyed this season so far.
Agree with everything you've said. I really like the fact that they're able to do a multi-episode story arc. I felt like Julie's quit came at the right time to kind of give them that opportunity. And because you don't get to see those sort of Clash of the Titans, it usually is one episode and then it's over and then there's a begonging. So the fact that that's going to last 2 episodes, I think, is really great. I agree with you completely on. I don't know why this season is getting so much hate. Only thing I can think of is the fact that it's a little bit. I don't. There's no characters who I really, really hate, and there's no characters who I really, really love. That being said, I don't find the season boring at all, and I don't think you need to have characters who you love and characters who you hate to make a really great Survivor season. But I am fairly neutral on everyone in terms of like who I want to win, who I really like, who I want to see come back for maybe another season. I am a little bit neutral on that, and that's the only thing I can think of that may make some people not like the season.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you have these two camps that we're talking about, this Jeremy and this Josh camp, but neither one of them is necessarily perceived as the villain, and neither one of them is necessarily a hero. It's
Yeah,
just two
although I
people.
will say if you had to choose, Jeremy's definitely gotten a villainous edit over the last few episodes.
Now, see, I'm still more in the Jeremy camp. Like I naturally would root for Jeremy over Josh,
Really?
but and I think that's why it's so divisive is that
Hmm.
both of them have their flaws and both of them are still very skilled game players. So they're both I would almost say they're very equal playing field. So it makes it interesting as there's no clear person to root for and person to hate. You could hate Jeremy and love Josh or vice versa, and or you could like them both. But it's just yeah, I think it goes back with you saying there's no one you really love or hate. And I don't know, like I like a lot of these people, so it's not like I'm apathetic towards everyone. But I agree that there's no clear heroes, there's no clear villains. It's just people.
You think that's just natural? I mean, well, you have a blood versus water season. This is the second one they've done, and in the first one, the people who dominated were the singles, and that's
Hmm.
not looking like that's going to happen this season. So, do you think that with a couple domination comes the sort of like neutrality where there's no real good and evil because no one wants to be villainous if their loved one's on the island with them?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because for me, I I think part of it is that I also naturally root for the underdogs. So I would hate just to see the couples make it to the end.
Yeah.
Um, and that's probably the reason that I'm pulling more for Jeremy and why I'm naturally drawn towards him because at this point I think he is more of an underdog. Um, at the same point, I'd be okay if Josh won the battle between the two, and then some more moves happened throughout the game, and it wasn't just the couples. So it's not that I inherently hate Josh, but I would hate just to be the final six are Josh and Reed, Jacqueline and John, and Missy and Baylor or something like that.
Yeah, and I find it really interesting also this season that most of the time the person who's the leader is the one with the hidden immunity idol, and that's not the case this season. You have kind of a wild card middle guy who has the hidden immunity idol, and so I'm really interested to see how Keith having the idol is going to really play into the season. Because I mean, in most seasons, like we saw last time, it would be Jeremy or Josh who has the idol,
Yeah.
and as far as we know, neither of them do. So Keith having the idol is a really interesting prospect.
Yeah, and see that adds an interesting dynamic to me. Now, obviously, this season has had its flaws. I thought Exile Island was a bust. I
Yeah,
didn't
it was
really think
that.
we got anything out of that. Um, but I like the complexity of this season. I like this whole war thing, and as long as one side does not completely pick off the other, and we have a pagonging, I think this will be a good post merge season.
Yeah, and I mean, we're coming off of a really big season, and I think a lot of people were expecting a lot because the last two seasons have been really good. Um, and this season may not be quite as good as Cagayan or Blood versus Water 1. That being said, I do think that once the recency bias, which I think recency bias can be either positive or negative, once that wears off, I think this season, if it goes like it should, is going to fall in the upper middle area, in probably like the 10 area.
Yeah, because there's no Tony this season. All right, there's no Cass. Also, I mean, Kagayan had some huge characters that were very polarizing, and you had the ultimate underdog of Spencer to root for, and you don't really have that. You have Keith, who can be entertaining, and you have Jeremy and Josh, who are these very interesting characters who sort of both have power, but it's not nearly the same as those other huge characters that were in the game for a long time in Kagayan. I mean, Kagayan was an amazing season. So when you're just strictly comparing it would seem a little more of a disappointment. But I would say I'm watching this season and I'm enjoying this season.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, we talked about the lack of hero versus villain. And I think sometimes Survivor is overly blatant about who they want you to think of as the hero and who they want you to think of as the villain. And I think now that that's kind of become what we're used to, people struggle with that sort of moral ambiguity where we don't really know what's good and what's bad. So,
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
we're going to be, in just a little bit, we're going to be talking about each person left in the game and talking about how they've been playing so far and what we think their chances are going forward. But before we get to that, we're going to do our list. And today we are going to be ranking the Survivor quitters throughout the entire series. There are quasi 11 and a half quitters that we'll be talking about. We're going to be ranking them from 11 down to 1, and up at the top of the list, or what we're going to start with first is going to be the most justified or most understandable quit, down to the bottom of least understandable quit. So
Yes.
should be good. I think Jeff is going to be starting us with number 11, and we're going to be working our way on.
Yes, well, number 11 is a tie, actually. You and I kind of talked about this earlier. If we're talking about the most justified quits, right, there are two that some people even had to question the definition of what exactly happened. And I remember during when this season was airing, I remember everyone asking, like, so do we call this person a quitter or a medivac, or what do we do? And so the tie for the most justified quit is for Dana Lambert from Survivor Philippines, who of course quit because she was having some sort of medical problem, and Gary Stridesky from Survivor Fiji, who wasn't really shown as a quit. It was shown as a medical evacuation, but when you talk to the people from that season, apparently it comes out that Gary had more decision in that process than the edit led you to believe. And so we're calling both of them quitters with an asterisk, and I think it's pretty easy to say that they're easily the most justified quits.
Yeah, when you're keeling over and shivering because you have like the flu and you can't do anything, you can't really function, it's justifiable or you quit. Same with Gary. He had so many bug bites and allergic reactions that he couldn't breathe properly and couldn't do anything.
And he had a cracked rib, didn't he?
I think so. So he had a bunch of problems. So both of them, you know, when it's hurting your ability to function, well, technically you may not need to go to the hospital immediately. Like there's no life-threatening injury. It's still when you can't actually function. What can you do on Survivor?
Right.
Just lay in a corner and
One
wait
thing
for
if you
people.
were at home and you had a bunch of bug bites and a cracked rib, you could just kind of like sleep it off. I don't want to say sleep it off, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
When you're on an island and you're not getting food or anything, it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. So let's move on to number 10. It is my pick, and for my number, or for our list of number 10, I'm going to choose the one who I think just one step below them, and it could be around the same thing. I'm going to go with Kathy Sleckman from Survivor Micronesia. For me, she was off her medicine. She was not in the right state of mind. She was not all mentally there, which for me justifies her quit because she literally needed to leave to get back on her medicine, so she didn't do herself bodily harm by chopping off a finger. So for me, it was very necessary for her to quit.
Yeah, I didn't have her quite at this point, but I definitely had her pretty high up on my list to say she was pretty justified in quitting.
Yeah. Kathy's a big friend of ours on the podcast, and we feel you are justified, Kathy.
Okay, so Kathy was number 10, so number 9 on my list is someone who I don't think anyone actually was really mad at this person, either on the island or when they watched it at home. And the reason is not only that her quit was justified kind of in and of itself, but I'll just say, it's Jenna Marask from Survivor All-Stars. Justified because she felt like her mother needed help, but then we find out that 8 days later, her mother actually did pass away. That just kind of made everyone, I think, take a step back and was like, yeah, okay, I understand. And I think she was pretty justified in quitting. I agree she shouldn't have come out there in the first place, but given the fact that she had come out, I can understand.
Yeah. She was next on my list, so I definitely agree with that. Yeah. I mean, she could sense it in some way. Very good that she did go, and she was able to spend those last few days with her mom. But yeah, I definitely think she deserves to be at this side of the list and not the other. Number 8 I have is also from that season, and I have Sue Hawk. This is one of the most uncomfortable quits ever, I would say. Just dealing with the whole Richard Hatch scandal of Grindgate. Is that what we're calling it? No, that's Ted and Gandhi. But anyways, Richard Hatch brushing up against her and then her quitting because dealing with the emotional trauma of that. And, even on the episode, there was a lot of questioning her motives and everything. But I think when you're looking at all the rest of the quiz, this one, she did have a serious issue event happen to her. Maybe she could have handled it a little bit better, but I think we have to put her higher on this side of the list, anyways, for her quit.
Okay.
Did
so
you
my
agree?
Next one. Oh, I completely agree. She was next on my list.
Okay.
After Jenna. My next one. I'm not sure how you're going to feel about David. Part of me thinks that you will agree with me, and part of me thinks that you probably have this person pretty low or pretty high on your, not where we currently are.
Yeah.
But I was ranking them, tried to put myself in the mind of the quitters and say, like, okay, situation, if I accept what they're saying is true, would I still have quit? And what makes that justified or unjustified? And I feel, you got me here, because again, I'm not sure how you're going to feel about this. I feel that if I was honestly convinced that I was going to hit someone, I'm not saying it is justified, I'm saying it's more justified than other people. And so I have Lindsay as number 7 on the list, because I think if she was honestly 100% convinced that she was going to hit Trish, I can she would pull up.
Yeah. I had her just one lower at 6, but I'm fine putting her here. I had the same thing. If we're taking what she said at face value, that was the reason why she quit, then that would be more justified than a lot of these other people on the list. So if she was honestly, afraid that she was going to do bodily harm to Trish, then I think it's a little more justified decision. Now, there's been lots of speculation. Oh, she was just unhappy her alliance member got blindsided, yada, yada, yada. But this is just going off of what they said. And I'll have a few other people that's like this too, is you may not believe them, but I'm going off of what they say. Just because it gets harder as we get lower on the list. For me, anyways. So yeah, I'm okay with Lindsay here. All right, my next one. This will be interesting to see where you have it. Maybe people would say this person's too high. But for the number 6 then, I'm going to choose Austin from Survivor Pearl Islands.
Okay.
Austin spent pretty much the entire game of Pearl Islands without any clothes, only underwear. And when he left the game, he seriously did have quite a few medical problems. So I think he was actually going through a lot of physical deterioration and physical pain and all that. So I think even though he gets a lot of crap for being the first quitter and everything, I think if you look at some more of these down the line, I think he did have some serious physical problems. Were they enough to make him leave the game immediately? No. But some of these other people I don't even think had that. So I had to give it to Austin.
I had him at number 5, so I can't complain.
Okay.
So the reason I'm putting this person then at number 5, because Austin was 6, I got to a point where people were just quitting for the same reason, right? Or most of the people left are quitting because they just don't want to be there anymore. They're just done. They don't really care. They're tired. They're hungry. Whatever. And so when I look at those people, I really look at kind of the build-up to it. Did we see them actually suffering, and was this really a big deal? And I feel like there are a couple people who, when you watch them, you're like, this is the first we've ever seen you have a tough time. You're smiling and you look happy, and I understand that that's not what we're feeling, but you'd think that there would be some signs. And so the next person that I'm going to pick is the person who I honestly think was having the toughest time, and you can tell by what's going on with her that she's having a tough time, and that's Janu.
Okay, I had Janu at number 4, so I'm okay putting her at 5. Yeah, she was struggling for there was probably a 3 or 4 episode arc.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's low on my list. Well, both of our lists, and it's probably because she quit because she had gotten everything out of the experience that she could have wanted. Well, that's sort of a lame thing. You could stay 3 more days and get a little bit more out of the experience in form of cash. But but yeah, and then there was part of it. Oh, maybe I just want to see Stephanie, go a little farther than me because I don't care as much. So I did not like this quit at all. But there's other quits on the list that upset me more than this one. And like you said, we saw a lot leading up to it. So, my number 4 may be a little controversial then. And again, I'm going off of what this person said, which you could believe is a bunch of hooey, but I'm just going with what he said. And for that reason, at number 4, I'm putting Colton.
No!
No.
He was my number 1.
Number 1? Well, it's number 4 on our list.
Yeah.
Colton said,
wow.
Colton said that there was a strategic reason for him to quit. And was saying that by doing that, he was effectively helping Caleb in the long run. Whether or not you agree with that or whether you believe it or not, I'm just going off of what he said. And if that was actually his thought process, then he in my mind, it's more justified if you're quitting for a strategic reason than you're quitting because you can't hack it. Now, a lot of people say, well, he couldn't hack it, and that's why he quit. So I'm just going off of what he said, just like we talked about with Lindsay. But you disagree.
Well, I was going off of what people said during the episode. When Colton said that he was quitting for a strategic reason, it came post-game. So whether or not that still counts, I don't know. I had Colton at number 1 because I felt like he quit, not because he couldn't hack it, but because he wasn't in control. I felt like once he saw no one on his turn to play the game, no one was going to let him kind of boss them around like he did in Survivor 1 World, and so he decided that he didn't want to play that game. And that's why I had him at number 1, but okay.
Well, yeah, it's controversial, I know. But you get to pick number 3.
For number 3, I picked Kelly S. And I kind of see these two quits as very similar. And the reason I put Kelly S. above Nyanka is because Kelly S. came to Jeff Probst and said, I want to quit. And then Jeff said, does anyone else want to quit? And then Nyanka raises her hand and said that she wanted to as well. And so even Nyanka had a rough time earlier on in the game. I think her quit was more piggybacking on Kelly's quit. Kelly, I think the fact that she came to Jeff and said that she wanted to quit shows that she was actually probably having a rougher time with it than Nyanka was. And we're getting into very, very, I think with about the Lindsay Austin area, we got into the unjustified quit, like thoroughly unjustified quit area. So I'm not saying they're justified. I'm just saying if you were to choose one to be more justified than the other, I would say Kelly S. was more justified than Nyanka in my mind.
Wasn't it the other way around? Didn't Nyanka ask to quit first at like the reward challenge?
I thought Kelly S. asked to quit first. Uh-oh. Now you got me thinking. If it is, then it should go the other way around. Let's see. This says Nyanka quit first, but did Nyanka ask to quit first? Quit the game instead of being a... As soon as the challenge ended, Nyanka announced that she wanted to quit the game. You were correct. I'm sorry. Nyanka should be number 3 for the same reason that I just listed for Kelly S.
Okay.
I apologize.
Not a problem. Number 2, I'm gonna have Kelly S. So it's really weird because Kelly S. we hardly see her throughout the season at all, and that's probably because she quits. So we don't have a lot of her mind frame. So yeah, when watching it, it looked like she just piggybacked on Nyanka. And you also got, Nyanka brought a lot to the season even after she quit, and that it doesn't necessarily justify it, but you sort of knew from watching her that she was a little more unstable, if that makes sense. So it was a little more understandable. And then you're just like, what? Kelly's quitting too? What? Why? We don't even know who she is, So it's right. One of those things. So that takes us to number 1, Jeff.
That's number 1. Number 1, the least justified quit, and I think the one that I don't know. Well, obviously it's Julie. I think everyone's kind of deduced that through their magical deduction powers. We saw Julie upset last episode with the rain, but that kind of went away, and we saw her. I mean, the last few days on Survivor had been sunny and happy, and there was a merge, and everyone was eating. They just finished a feast, and Julie was tanning, and people were mad at her for the whole trail mix thing, but I'm still slightly baffled as to what exactly happened. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I know Jeff Probst speculated that she wanted to quit now because then she could be with John and wouldn't have to be on the jury. But then in interviews, she said no, that wasn't the case, and that this is just a dumb quit for me because, well, first of all, in her ex interview, she also said that she'd be willing to play again if it wasn't a blood
Right.
versus water season. And I'm thinking she just missed her loved one. That was the reason why, and that people were starting to be rude to her. And it's just a dumb reason. She wasn't going to get voted out, so it's not
You
like...
think she honestly thought she was going to get voted out?
No, everyone was telling everyone, you either heard, oh, we're going after Josh, or oh, we're going after Jeremy. And no one was... People were being rude to her, and sure, and were like, whispering, Julian and the trail mix, #trail mix scandal. But no one was actually bringing up her name for tribal council.
Right, and if you actually felt like you were going to get voted off, why would you quit?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't, that sort of like, oh, I'm going to get voted off anyway, so I might as well, say screw it and quit. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this quit overall. I'd even be willing on our list, Jeff, to bump Colton up to number 2 if you want.
Yes! Thank you.
Because Nyanka and Kelly both quit because they couldn't hack it anymore in the survival sense. Like, they were tired of surviving. Colton, that wasn't the case. And his strategic reasoning is questionable. But I still think...
had forgotten that he had given that explanation.
But I still think we have at least some questionable stuff with Colton, whereas Julie... There was no strategic part. It was just, I needed to do what was right for me at this moment.
Right, and she said that. She was like, I don't really care that this is going to screw over Jeremy. Not only does it screw over Jeremy because now he is missing an alliance member, but as far as I know, Julie's not on the jury.
No, she's not.
And so there's a jury vote gone for him as well. Like, it didn't sit with me that you could be that selfish. And the other thing that about it is she's quitting because people think she's pretty. Like, did you understand what she was trying to say with that? Like, did you understand even what point she was trying to make?
I think she was saying people judge her, and they will judge her for quitting, but she has to deal with that her whole life. She's had to deal with that her whole life, and she doesn't care.
Okay.
That's what I got. So okay. She doesn't care that we
good for
at the bottom. But there's our list. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. You can give us a comment on our Facebook group, David and Jeff Survivor Podcast. Let us know what you think of our list. We'll run down it one more time. So at 11 we have Dana and Gary, 10 Kathy Sleckman, 9 Jenna Maraska, 8 Susan Hawk, 7 Lindsay, 6 Austin, 5 Janu, 4 Nyanka, 3 Kelly, 2 Colton, and number 1 Julie. Yeah, this is just a weird quit. The other thing, at least Colton quit, like whatever it was, day 6 or 7 or what, he quit early on in the season, so we didn't have to deal with it as much,
Yeah.
Julie, right at the merge, and that's what frustrates me about Nyanka and Kelly too, is that they made it to the final 8 or 9 or whatever, and then they quit. That's just.
Here's the other thing that upsets me about it. There's 2 other things. One, she was upset that Jeff didn't give her time to process it, but if the immunity challenge just ended, there are literally hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours to tribal council. You don't have time to decide. They need to figure out if they're going to have a tribal council. And just think, I think if you're saying I may or may not quit, I'm not sure, Jeff isn't going to allow that tribal council to happen until you figured that out for yourself. So I understand him not giving her a lot of time because it changes it changes the entire game. And he also doesn't want to have to put her on a jury if she's going to quit right after someone gets voted out. Secondly, I was angry. I feel like there's something very much different from quitting in front of everyone versus quitting on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a little cowardly to quit, just kind of like go off into the bushes and call Jeff over. And I know Lindsay did that too, but I feel like it's a little cowardly. It makes me feel like you're not 100% sure about your decision, because Julie's quit wasn't about. I mean, this is what differentiates these two situations between Julie and Lindsay. Lindsay's quit was about other people, and if she was going to quit in front of everybody, she was going to say, it's because I hate you, and I hate you, and I hate you.
Yeah.
Julie's quit had nothing to do with them, with the exception that it affected their game, and so not quitting in front of them just felt cowardly to me.
Yeah. Well, the other reason she gave is that there was all these couples around, and that she didn't have a couple. Like, okay, whatever.
Like, you're playing Survivor. Like, you signed up for it.
Yeah. But anyway, so there's our list. Let us know what you think. Let's move on. We talked about the quit and Julie in the episode. We talked about sort of our thoughts of the episode overall, and the editing and the suspense. So now we're going to talk about each remaining person in the game. There's 11 people left, and something's going to happen. I think we're going to have a double tribal council or something, because the finale is going to be on December 17th.
There has to be a double tribal.
Somewhere along the line. Or a medivac, which I wouldn't like, but we'll see. But anyways, we're going to go down the list. We're going to talk about these people. How have they played so far? What do they need to do to win? What are their chances of winning? I thought chances of winning, it's just a simple 1, 2, or 3. 1, they have no chance of winning. 2, they're a wild card. 3, there's a very good chance that they could win the game.
Like, how many 3s do you think we should give out? Like, 3? You think we'd say 3 people have a good chance of winning?
Yeah, I would say no more than 4, probably.
Okay.
There's 11. Let's cap a max of 4 for all. Let's try to even 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So one group will have 3 and 2 will have 4.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to talk about the 2 big people first. Let's talk about Jeremy. How has Jeremy played so far, Jeff?
I think Jeremy's playing a pretty solid game. It seems like he kind of keeps hitting walls. His game is reminding me a little bit of Spencer's. Maybe he's been a bit more successful. But it's like no matter what he does, everything he tries doesn't go well for him. He wasn't in the group to vote Drew out. Obviously Julie quitting on him takes away a number. His wife gets
voted to vote Drew out.
Say that again?
He wasn't in the group to vote Drew out. He voted
Drew out, but he didn't want to.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I didn't see him saying leading the Drew brigade.
Yeah, gotcha.
He did vote with them to get rid of Drew. But I just feel like he feels a little bit like Spencer in that regard, like nothing, and almost a little bit like Reynolds too from Survivor Caramoan, where like nothing he does can go right for him, and so I wonder if his luck's going to change. I think if his luck does change, he's got a very good shot at winning, especially kind of with the recent string of kind of stronger male leader types winning. I don't know that this season's going to break that trend, and so I think he's got. I would put him with a 3.
Yeah, I think so far that he has played pretty well. I would not quite classify him as Spencer or Reynolds, because both of them, especially early on, were clearly ostracized and were on the outside. I would say, at least before the tribe swap, he was good with everyone, even though they didn't go along with the Keith thing. Like, he was still in the good graces of pretty much everyone. And even now that we're merged, he has a lot of people that he still connects with. Unfortunately, you have someone savvy like Josh who's able to read him and able to see what he's doing. But obviously everyone else isn't quite,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he's quite as dire as those people, but I do think he's not as self-aware as he needs to be. He's a little too confident, if that makes sense. Because obviously, I think we saw it tonight in this merge episode. He thinks, "Oh, I have my numbers, I'm good," but he needs to be firming up a little bit more, and recognizing, "Oh, Josh is really talking to John a lot. I better, you know, talk with him and figure things out. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand that like lack of like not comparing it with Ronald and Spencer. I don't know. I agree with most of what you said. I don't have anything to add.
But yeah, I'd put him as a 3 if he can survive the next vote, if he can gain the majority. And I think we're going to be saying this with Josh too. He could gain. Unfortunately, you know, both of them are going to be 3s, but them winning requires taking the other one out. So it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. But what needs to happen for Jeremy to win? What needs to happen down the line?
He needs to win this battle against Josh.
Yeah, he needs to get
He needs to get John.
get John and Jacqueline on his side. And it looks like he's getting Jacqueline more than John just in the previews, but he needs both of them to secure it. Because I thought, oh, what if they split their votes? Like, what if Jacqueline's so mad, like she just voted? But that still wouldn't solve anything because they'd still have 6 on the other side. Now that Julie, darn Julie.
Damn it, Julie.
But after that, I think it's sticking with that alliance for a while and then breaking up couples. Like eventually, all right, you got Josh out, keep Reed, vote Wes or Keith out, get one of them out, and then vote 1 or 2 more out. But before you clearly wipe them out, you need to get rid of either a Missy or a Baylor or a John and a Jacqueline to break another one of the couples up.
Yeah. Is there any way you think that Jeremy could lead a charge against Josh and then use Reed as a number? Like, what pitch would he have to make to Reed in order to do that?
I think it would have to, I think that's a really, really long shot. He would have to, I mean, you could say, hey, now we're singles, you're one of us now. You can't be with the couples anymore. But even so, I could see Reed still sticking with the other guys. So I don't know. It's tough. I think Reed would sell him under, or sell him out to the other people before he would actually make an alliance with Jeremy.
Yeah, I think the only thing he could do was say we got rid of Josh because we wanted you in our alliance, and we couldn't have Josh and you. But I don't even know if that would work. So I don't know.
Maybe if we're down to the final 7 or 8, but if we're still at 10 or 9 people, I don't think there's any way he can bring them in yet.
I would agree.
So, yeah. Other than that, yeah, I think he has the social skills to be able to maneuver it if he can take out Josh. But it's gonna see, because maybe Julie quitting saved his life, because obviously it saved him at least to the jury. Because I'm fairly certain he was going to go home, at this past tribal council. So Julie quitting did, in the short term, benefit him. But we'll see if they're able to put John and Jacqueline back on their side or not.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the other one, Josh. How has Josh been playing the game?
Josh, I think, is probably playing the best game of anyone so far. He's relying probably a little bit too much on some swing votes like John and Jacqueline, but he has Reed pretty solid, and now it seems like he's got John and Jacqueline fairly solid as well, and then he has his other 2 members. And so, I mean, Josh has been probably playing the best game since the beginning of the game, and he just needs to keep the ball rolling. I see it. The only way I can see Josh not getting to the end at this point is if Jeremy's side wins, which I don't see as honestly a real possibility. I think Josh has it, and so I give him a 3+.
3+. I think one of his flaws is he's been a little too overt in his cutthroat strategy, maybe, especially when he was originally on Coyopa. I think his whole voting for Baylor thing, which is weird. I think he's been a little overt in a lot of situations. And so people recognize him as a power player. You could say the same thing with Jeremy, and which is why they're both in this predicament. I mean, we've had other winners who, at come merge time, people don't actually realize that they're the one in charge and in control. And both of them, to a degree, at least the other person is aware of them, but I'm pretty sure other people on the tribe as well are aware also. But it's just interesting because I thought his whole interaction with Baylor was pretty weird this past episode. And yeah, I don't know. That's a weird relationship to me because, like, in my mind, he was clearly using her pretty much the whole time, and I think she started to realize it, towards the end. But I think she, like, in that sense, he needed to do, and this was earlier on, he needed to do a better job of not alienating maybe Baylor, so that I mean, with your mom, it's a hard sell, not to go with her and go with someone else. But she could have, if she could have been like, this guy was loyal to me this entire time. Like, I have no doubt he has my back and your back to the end. But I think it was something that he did that sort of didn't make that relationship as secure as it could have been. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with you.
But yeah, I have him at 3 again. If he wins the battle, then it's gonna take something big to get him off the pedestal. I think it would be hilarious though if Josh and Jeremy were the next 2 out.
Yeah, because it would really throw a wrench in like what everyone thinks is gonna happen.
Like if just everyone came together and was like, look, these 2 are both like thinking they're in control of the game, and so that one side wins, and then the others like just all vote the other leader off. And to me, then I'm like, all right, I have absolutely no idea who's gonna win this game.
Yeah.
Crazy. I don't think that's gonna happen, but be fascinating to watch for me.
I agree.
Anything else other than winning the battle that Josh needs to do going forward to win?
Anything else? He needs to not take.
What?
I was thinking he needs to not take John Mish to the final 3.
Yeah. Who should be his final 4, final 5?
His final 4, final 5? Like, in terms of his best chances of winning?
Yeah. Like, should he take Wes and Keith?
I would say Reed, Jacqueline, Wes, and Keith. Just make sure that Jacqueline's on your side. See, that's dangerous, though, because then it's Keith and Wes versus Josh and Reed, and it's up to Jacqueline to decide.
I think you go with Reed, Keith, Wes, and Alec. I think you stick with that boys alliance. Get rid of Missy and Baylor. Thanks, John and Jacqueline, for going on our side. We're gonna vote you off too. Goodbye, Natalie. Let's get with our guys, and that way you have Alec, who's a swing vote, who can be easily manipulated any way you want.
I mean, the other option, if emotion's not involved, I honestly think his smartest bet would probably be to go with 2 couples that aren't him, because then he's the swing vote no matter what, and he's in the final 3 no matter what.
Yeah.
Although, I guess not no matter what, because if it's a couple and 2 singles in the final 4, they may get rid of him. But I just think being that swing vote at the final 5 is just too important. It's the only person who's guaranteed. So
unless it's All Stars.
What do you mean?
Survivor All Stars, where Big Tom was the middleman in between 2 couples, and then they just voted him off.
Well, he was the swing vote.
Yeah, he was the swing vote.
I know. I was making a joke.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he maneuvers it from here if he does win the battle. But yeah, definitely a 3. As we move on, let's talk about Reed.
Okay.
What has Reed done so far?
I still like Reed, and I think Reed has a UTR chance of winning. It would be difficult. He'd need to take a lot more of a leadership role, I think, in these next few episodes. But the fact that he's connected to Josh definitely is not hurting him in terms of his chances of winning. So I think right now Reed's like a person I would want to take to the final 3 to beat. That being said, he's a smart guy. He's an actor. He can turn on the charm. He seems to be friendly with everyone, even the people who he's not aligned with. He's got an outside shot. I mean, he's got an outside chance of winning.
But let's look at what he's done so far. From an editing perspective, of what we've seen, he was not in the loop of the Drew vote at all. I think
that's the only vote we've seen him for.
Yeah.
Because the only chance is that.
And then we show him his edit has pretty much been just tag along with Josh, just in love with Josh and doing whatever.
Yeah, but the edit for Natalie was tag along with Russell.
I'm not saying he can't win. I'm saying we asked what has he done so far. What we've seen is not a lot.
That's fair.
So in my sense, I see him as either a sacrifice along the way to get at Josh, somehow he goes to, or B, like let's say if Josh won immunity this episode and they voted off this next episode, and John and Jacqueline swing back over and then they vote Reed off or something, something like that, or he makes it to the end with Josh and gets no votes or something like that,
I thought, if Josh gets voted out, let's pretend Josh loses the battle. Do you think Reed has the connections and the ability to take over Josh's place, to become the kind of de facto leader of that group and try to swing some people back? Because I think that could very well happen.
I don't know if he has the pull with John and Jacqueline.
Yeah, I don't know about his relationship with John in the original Hunapu.
I don't know. It's possible, but not as likely. So, do you want to put him as wild card or no chance?
I put him as wild card.
All right, we'll put him as wild card, number 2. All right, let's talk about another guy. One of my favorites, Keith.
Keith is the person I want to win, even though I don't think he will.
What has he done so far? Let's see. He found an idol.
He did.
He tried to tell everyone that Jeremy had an idol.
He did.
He took a nap right before tribal council and ended up getting people voting for him. But he seems to be a likable enough guy and has good relationships with quite a few people. So that's what he has going for him. But not a lot of strategic knowledge there, as far as we can tell.
Yeah. I see Keith. I love Keith as just a player. Some things scare me, though. He seems a little like he might get a little erratic, because I know we still have 2 quotes from him that we haven't heard, which are, "I've done the stupidest thing in Survivor history, and I'm glad he's gone," which makes me think that someone's going to piss Keith off, and Keith might kind of retaliate. And obviously he still has something stupid to do. I think Keith has a very small chance of winning.
Yeah, I don't think he has a lot to win. What would he have to do? I think he'd have to be like a Fabio and go up against 2 people that are just hated, that like screwed everyone over and was like actually rude or mean to them, or people didn't respect. And he'd be like, "Hey, I'm just the likable guy that somehow made it here," but even that seems like a really long shot for me.
I could see there's two situations I could see him winning in. One is it's a final two and he goes to the end with Wes. Two is it's a final three and he goes to the end with both Missy and Baylor. Not because he'll beat Missy and Baylor, but because Missy and Baylor might split votes.
Yeah.
They're kind of indistinguishable to me. Like, if John and Jacqueline make it to the end together, I feel like the jury would not have a problem picking between them. But and the same is true of Josh and Reed. But I feel like with Missy and Baylor, they're a little bit more indistinguishable and a little bit harder to decide which one we actually want to win. So.
What if he's in the final three with Alec and Wes?
That would be another situation, I think. I don't think Alec has much of a shot either.
But do we give him a 2 wild card or a 1 no chance?
Well, I'm kind of trying to plan ahead here, and I'm thinking I have to give at least 3 1s, maybe 4. And I can think of 2 off the top of my head who I'm going to give a 1 to. And that third one, I can't decide if it should go to Keith or not. That being said, no chance. I have to go with no chance. I just don't see the situation happening where he's going to end up in a position to win.
Okay.
And it pains me to say that because I love him. Love Keith.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. No chance. All right, he's a 1. Let's move on. Let's talk about Wes.
Yeah.
Well, I think Wes is even more of a. I think Wes is even more of a 1 than.
Yeah, Wes was one of the 2 that I was like, okay, I know that I'm going to give a 1 to him.
Because what have we seen him do so far? He called out John Rocker, like figured out who he was, and then befriended him, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We've seen him follow people around.
He hasn't achieved his goal of like winning the game with a woman on each arm. That was his original goal.
Yeah, he's in an all-male alliance.
Yeah. So I literally I have nothing else to say. He is the onest of ones.
What would he have to do to win? I think there was a fire and he survived. I don't know.
Like an ancient group of San Juan del Sur and cannibals come, and he's the one who fights them off.
The only way I can see him winning if it's him and Alec in the final 2.
Yeah.
I don't see.
So even then.
I don't see people respecting Alec. I think they'd have a hard time deciding between the 2 of them. But yeah, I think his chances are pretty low.
You want to talk about
right.
Survivor? You know, last season when they had the final 2, a lot of people were like, "Well, Survivor's never going to do a final 2 again because there was a chance that Wu and Cass would be the final 2, and they'll never do it again." Okay, if Wes and Alec were the final 2, I guarantee you Survivor would never do a final 2 again.
Well,
I can say that with quite a bit of certainty.
I would say with the episodes we have left, it's almost certain that it's a final 3 this year, unless we have like 2 medical evacuations, or they would have still voted someone out after Julie quit. Then we could have, but with them not having tribal council, I'm pretty sure it's the final 3 this time.
Yes.
So, let's talk about Jacqueline.
Let's do.
What has Jacqueline done so far?
You know, she's actually come out of her shell quite a bit more. The one thing that I'm really surprised about, because the Survivor editing usually doesn't do this, they're showing her and John be actually extremely democratic. It's usually John's will that happens, but you always hear Jacqueline's voice, and it seems like that's going to continue next week as well, with the sort of gender war that they are kind of playing up. And that's something you don't, I mean, it's not very often in Survivor that you see a duo, or especially a male-female duo, where both voices are heard, and everything seems very much like a deliberation rather than this is what we're doing. So I will give Jacqueline that credit.
Yeah, they're showing it. Not that other pairings haven't done that before, but they're actually showing it.
Well, you think about like Becky and Yule, right? Like everyone knows, just based on what Yule and Becky have said over the years, that was a lot more democratic than the edit would like to show, because they wanted to show Yule as a strong winner.
Same with
So
Robin
the
Amber.
fact that they are showing, say that again.
Same with Robin Amber and a couple others. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the fact that they are showing the John and Jacqueline deliberations makes me think that either A, one of them is in the finals with a good shot of winning, or B, one of their decisions is going to just blow up in their faces.
Yeah. That being said, I don't have a strong possibility of Jacqueline winning the game.
Do you give her a 1?
It's very borderline of 1 and 2 for me, just because I think John has a really good shot, but I don't think Jacqueline does when she's up against John, and I don't even see, again, unless she's up against Wes and Keith, I don't really see her having a strong chance. So I would almost give her a 1.
Really? See, I think she's got a little bit. I mean, it's all going to depend on what she can swing, right? Like if she's in the final 3, what she can swing. I was going to disagree with you, but I'm thinking about it more. If they were going to give her the like underdog who pulls out this amazing final speech at Final Tribal Council, who's like, I was an underdog the whole time, and you all thought I was out of the game, and blah 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 blah. If that was going to happen, they would have given her a much better edit those first couple of episodes.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going to agree with you. I was going to disagree with you and say that she could do that, but the edit has not shown that could happen. She would have been given almost a Spencer-like edit in terms of her underdog status the first couple of episodes.
Yeah. Let's talk about John. I think we've seen a lot of John, and he's become a critical player. What has he done? I thought he had a pretty smart strategy when it came to the first tribal council, and Drew was like, no, we need to get Callie off, and he was like, who did he suggest?
He suggested Julie.
Julie, that's right. Julie, because she keep the pairs, that's what it was, right? Which was a very smart strategy on his part. Keep the pairs together, let's vote someone whose loved one is already out of the game. And then we get to the swap, and he decided to go with Missy and Baylor. Fine by me, but he was in the middle. Him and Jacqueline were in the middle the whole time. Same with the Dale. I think obviously he made a very smart decision voting Dale out because that immunity idol was not real. And then even now, we see him being a central focal point of deciding between the two camps. So I think if there was anyone that has a really good chance besides Jeremy and Josh, it is John. So I would put him at a 3.
I would put him at a 3 too, and I put him at a 3-. And I know you've been asking, what does he need to do to win? He needs to get to the final 3 without Josh or Jeremy there. That's all he needs to do.
He needs to play both sides. He needs to go from one to the other. He needs to.
You think he needs to like Rob Sestino or Tony it?
A little bit, yeah. I think he just needs to get one or two people who stay loyal to you. You can bring like Missy and Baylor along; they're not that threatening, and just like flip flop. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that could work. I'm just not sure. I think though, yeah, I think he is the. If everyone was at Final Tribal Council right now, he would get the third most number of votes. I think.
Yeah.
Assuming there was a jury to vote, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, there's John. Let's talk about Missy.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have been, and you know this, I've been a supporter of Missy for a very long time. Thought she was winning. Everyone hated her for some reason because of Ricegate, and I felt like she wasn't necessarily the villain. I had to jump off of the Missy train this week.
Why is
Had
that?
the confessional that she gave, where she was like, Baylor needs to come with me because she's my daughter, and this is a chance that I have to be her mother. It rubbed me the wrong way for a couple of reasons. One, I felt like she was making excuses, and two, the way to be a mother, in my opinion, the way to be a mother of a 20-year-old daughter is not to force them to follow everything you do. It is to allow them to be independent and make their own decisions. And so to claim that you're being such a good mother now because you're letting you're like making your daughter come along with you, to me is just kind of asinine. And so that confessional just really rubbed me the wrong way. And I know it was weird because the people who really hated Missy, at least in the kind of live, we were doing like a live message board. In the live message board I was following, the people who really hated Missy loved that confessional and were like, okay, maybe Missy's not so bad. And the people like me who really loved Missy were like, oh, Missy, that was a rough confessional. I don't know what exactly you were saying there. So I had to jump off the Missy train.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Missy fan, but I do think she's playing a decent game. I mean, she's not doing that bad. I would put her as a wild card. If certain random things happen, I think it would take a lot, but I think she would have a chance if she's in there with like Alec and Baylor. I could see people voting for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Definitely a wild card. In terms of gameplay, she's doing a fine job. That was just kind of my like the reason why I jumped off of said Missy train.
yeah,
No, in terms of gameplay, she's doing a pretty good job, I think.
yeah.
I would
It'll be
definitely.
interesting to see if they can get John and Jacqueline back on their side. 'Cause that's gonna be a big factor as well. But let's talk about Baylor. How has she been playing so far?
Baylor, or
Baylor, yeah.
I think Baylor's been playing a pretty good game. Um, in terms of her ability to win, I don't. I would still put her as a wild card, but I think she's going to need to do a lot to win to convince people that she played a great game. Um, she's got kind of this resume that's a little bit weird, where I mean, like, look at the whole thing with Dale, right? Like, she said get Dale voted out, but then didn't actually vote for Dale, and she's kind of running things, not really, and she was can vote, but not really. I don't know. I really don't know how to read Baylor's edit.
It's
I wouldn't
it's
say she has no
interesting.
chance winning, but her chances.
It's it's
I,
sort of
I
like
wouldn't say no chance, but I would definitely say that she has a very limited chance.
it's to me it's like she's making a lot of wrong moves or moves that don't seem very smart, but they always work out for her. You know,
Well, she really reminds me
like
of Sierra.
yeah, yeah. She's not making a lot of smart moves, but the moves always either don't impact her negatively or have a somehow positive impact. But moves that you're like, wait a minute, maybe that's not the smartest thing. Oh, maybe you shouldn't do that. Well, it sort of worked out for her. So it's sort of like, yeah, this luck is on her side, even though she makes. And I think that's almost a little bit Reynolds-like too. You know, like Reynolds made a lot of mistakes, but still he ended up making it good ways. So I don't think there's a great chance for her to win. They can get all the power players out, then it's truly almost anyone's game, and I could see her winning.
Yeah. So would you give her a two
So
as well?
yeah, another two.
How many ones, twos,
All
and
right, that
threes have we get?
I think we are 3-3-3.
Ooh. Okay.
So then we have two people left. Let's talk about Natalie.
Natalie. I have been turned. I like a 20.
Yeah, I think we hadn't been seen a whole lot of her except her volunteering to go to Exile Island and talking with Missy and Baylor. I thought that was a really
Baylor.
move, and it showed that she had some strategic savvy, and it was a decision that we saw without Jeremy at all. So it makes me think, she can function without Jeremy because she's been paired up a lot with him as well. So to me, she's probably one of the strongest wild cards. If we after John, but John we gave a 3, but I would give her like a 2+. If some of the major players come out, I could see Natalie working her way to the end and winning a lot. But yeah, I think she has a smart head on her shoulders, and it'll be interesting to see what happens, especially if she's on the wrong side of the numbers. What can she do to turn it around?
Yeah. See, I completely agree with everything you said except one minor. At this point, it may just be semantics. I would actually go as far as to give Natalie a 3-. I feel like if Josh's camp wins, and yet somehow Josh gets voted out before finals, you have John standing, and he'll win. Similarly, if Jeremy's camp wins, and yet somehow they idle or whatever, Jeremy gets out, I feel like Natalie will be the person standing. I think of the people in his camp who are not named Jeremy Collins, she has the best chance of winning, and if she gets to the final 3 without Jeremy, I think she will win.
All right, I would normally agree with you, but I'm going to stick with the 2 for this reason. We had 0 confessionals of Natalie this past episode. The merge episode is big, and we hadn't heard a single thing from her.
But we knew where see, here's my reasoning. We knew where Natalie was standing, and there didn't end up being a tribal council. It was more important to hear about Julie and then the fight between Josh and Jeremy, which is where 90% of the confessionals in this episode went to those 3, than it was to hear from the kind of sidekick of Jeremy.
But if you're putting her at the same tier as John, John got quite a few confessionals this episode as well.
But John was wishy-washy. Natalie, we knew Natalie was a number for Jeremy. Here, I guess I'll ask you this, right? Like, let's pretend that you're the Survivor editors, and you're trying to edit this episode, and you want to throw a Natalie confessional in there. What does she say?
Even it's showing some sort of reaction to Julie and what she's doing, or
I'm reactions, just not in the form of confessionals.
No, I mean a confessional talking about Julie, about either the trail mix gate or about even if she was aware of her wanting to quit or what her thoughts, because we saw like confessionals of Jared talking about Julie. I think just throw one in there. It's not that hard.
I guess. I just feel like if they're trying to mislead us, I don't know. I mean, again, we're talking the difference between a 3- or a 2+. So
I'd give her a 2+.
Okay, we can go. Can we go with a 2++?
Sure. Cool. All right, that leaves one person, Alec. What are your thoughts, Jeff?
I was saving him for my last one.
Yes.
I mean, you and I were just saying, what if the final 2 is Wes and Alec who wins? And I think we said Wes wins. So.
Yeah, I think people don't have a lot of respect for Alec. He seems to be, he's one who just speaks his mind and is very blunt about things, which can rub people the wrong way.
Everyone, even though Julie stole food, everyone was being super respectful and not saying it around her, and just blurts out, "Hey, wish we had some trail mix right now." It's just things like that don't help you win Survivor.
Yeah, and he had that whole thing with Baylor.
Yeah,
about,
and that's the only this weird scene with Baylor, which we still don't know exactly. Is that going to come into play at all, or was that just a one-off? The Survivor editors are just screwing with us now.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I don't think he has. He may be the lowest one on the totem pole right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, that's our thoughts. It's going to be very interesting. Hopefully, we'll be talking with JML in the next podcast or two, so that we can get his thoughts, hear what he thinks about the whole editing this season and everything. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this season progresses, and I am looking forward to it.
Calling it right now, David. Final four: Wes, Alec, Jacqueline, and Keith.
If they show them more, then I could buy it. But right now, that seems pretty bad. I like how Jacqueline just randomly got in with 3.
Yeah, that's the thing. Jacqueline needs to be like a 1+ because like being in with Keith and Alec is almost insulting.
But before we sign off, we are going to be doing another Survivor draft. We're doing our 3rd draft. Do you remember what the first 2 drafts were, Jeff?
Well, one of them was the BB16 players in Survivor teams.
Yeah.
And the other one, I believe we said it was the craziest tribe.
Scariest. And how is Halloween?
Scariest. Right, scariest tribe. There we go.
Because you had Boo.
Right, I had Boo Burness. I'm so funny, David.
Yes. So we're going to be doing another Survivor draft. This time we're going to be doing the we'll each have a Survivor tribe of 10, but we can only choose people who have either quit the game or medically evacuated, one of the two. Or in the case of one person, both. But so we'll go back and forth. I think last time you were the first one because you chose Boo as the very first one. So I'll choose the first one, then you'll choose pick 2 and 3. Then it'll go back to me 4 and 5, and so on and so forth till we both have our tribes of 10. Are you ready?
Yes. Oh, we should explain also.
All right.
Each of us are required to have 4 females. There are 9 females that are eligible, so we can't quite have even tribes. So we just agreed that we would each have to have at least 4 females on our tribe.
We have to at least have 4 and no more than 5. So, yes, and there are 22 people.
If I took 6 girls and it was like, David, your tribe's not eligible to win. I'm sorry. You failed.
The other thing we should mention is there are 22 total people who've either quit or been evacuated. So 2 people are going to get snubbed and be on no one's tribe.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad?
And we are trying to win. So our goal is to win. We're trying to pick the tribe that's going to have the best chance of winning.
I have some people. I have a lot of people that I would like, and this first pick is hard for me because I know whoever I don't pick, you're going to take, and it's really hard for me. So I'm going to have to choose the only person I can, the person that I just love. So I'm going to have to choose as my very first pick, Jonathan Penner.
Damn it.
Was he your number 1?
He would have been, yeah.
No. All right.
Okay.
So you have picks 2 and 3.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for my first pick, I'm going to go athletic, and I'm going to pick someone who I think will definitely help our tribe out in challenges, and is a proven athletic competitor, not necessarily a proven strategic competitor, and that's Eric Reichenbach.
He was number 3. I knew he was going to probably be taken by you, which is too bad. But
I'm just trying to figure out, because no one else really jumps out at me except for one person, even though he's kind of... and I'm just wondering if that's who I want to take. Yeah. So then my next person then will be someone who I think has a really good... has a little... I think his survivor luck is really bad, is the issue. I just think he has bad luck. But hopefully we can change that, and so I'm going to pick James Clement.
He was my number 4, so you didn't take my number 2, which is good.
You're not playing. You're playing to have fun.
You're taking my high ups. I'm playing to win, Jeff, as I choose my next person, who's the only Survivor winner on the list, Jenna Maraska.
Yeah, you're not playing to win.
How am I not playing to win, Jeff?
Because you just picked Jessica. You know the answer to this question, David.
Jenna Maraska proven to be a very good physical competitor. She won quite a few challenges. She won the game. She's likable. What is wrong with picking Jenna Maraska? I think she has a much better track record than either of the two people you picked. And we just said she was one of the most justified quits. So
I don't care how justified her quit was.
So my next pick, since you chose James, I have to fight power for power, so I'm going to choose Austin. Austin Taylor from Survivor Pearl Islands. Need to have a strong guy on mine. So it's you have 2 picks.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Okay, I'm gonna pick 2 people. Yeah, I got them. I'm gonna pick 2 people who I think are pretty good at the game. Both of them have really good survival. Both of them are really good at survival, and they've proven that multiple times on the show. Well, one of them's proven it multiple times. The other one's only proven it once. But really good at surviving, and also pretty good at challenges as well. So my first pick will be Michael Skupin, who I'm a little bit worried about because I'm not a huge fan of his gameplay style, but I'm not picking him to win. I'm picking him to propel my tribe forward. And then Bruce Kanagai, who I think does have a chance at winning, but definitely a good survivalist and also really, really good at challenges. We saw that with the fish head chopping challenge. He may be a little bit socially inept with the whole drinking the wine issue, but maybe he'll gain sympathy because he can't poop.
Interesting. Skupin was number 8 for me, and Bruce was number 11.
Yeah, I'm just going off the seat of my pants. I don't even have it numbered. I'm just going.
My next person, I'm going to choose someone who seemed fairly athletic, fairly likable, just got a bad break, and I'm going to choose Joe Dowdle from Survivor Tocantins.
Not a bad pick.
Next one. I'm going to choose another person who I think could be likable, could be fairly athletic. We didn't really get a chance to see her at all. And I'm going to choose Courtney Moon from Survivor One World.
Yeah, I was thinking about Courtney, and I was like, do I want to pick her? You know, is she... we just don't know enough about her to really make an informed choice, as you would say.
All right, you have the next 2.
So, my next one is going to be my first girl, and I'm picking this person because they're clearly strong. We didn't ever really get to see them strategically because they quit / were medically evacuated first. And so we don't really know, in terms of strategy, how good she is at the game. But I'm going to pick Dana Lambert as my pick. And then as my 6th pick, another person who we saw, and I actually felt like, this is another girl, I felt like she was actually fairly strategic. She just made a stupid decision by quitting, and could have actually gone far in the game had her alliance held up. So Lindsay Ogle.
Oh, Lindsay. She was low on my list. All right. Dana was 13. Lindsay was 19. So now I'm going to pick some fun people. We're getting to the point where there's not a lot of good choices. Would you agree? But
yeah.
The next person is definitely a good choice. I think she would actually be pretty good at I think she could be a good social player and could make it far as long as she has her medication. So I'm going to go with Kathy Sleckman. I'm going to put her on my team. All right. So I have Kathy. I'm very excited to have her on my team. So I need one more. And this is rough. I'm deciding between 2 people. Do I go with the person I initially had higher or someone else? As I look at the other female competitors, I think this one doesn't have a good chance of winning the game, but is very strong and could help in the challenges. So I'm going to choose Sue Hawk.
Dang it, she was my next pick.
As my 4th female.
Okay, so I'm looking here. I'm trying to pick. I think we've overlooked one person who I think is actually, well, maybe most people forget that this person was actually on a winning tribe for quite a while, and he was the leader of that tribe. And I think he'd be pretty good at challenge. I mean, he's been proven to be pretty good at challenges in his first season. His second season didn't go so hot, but I'm gonna pick Russell Swan.
He was the one I was debating with, actually, Jeff. He was the next one on my list. So he was a little lower than Sue though for me, so I ended up choosing Sue. But yeah, not a bad choice.
And then I am going to pick. Okay, and then the next person I'm going to pick, even though I think her quit was quite possibly the least justified quit ever, she said that she wanted to play again. She was on a winning tribe. She wasn't strategically inept. So I picked Julie McGee.
That was my next pick as well, Jeff. You're taking my pick.
It seems like her willingness to come back would play a lot into her ability to do well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my next one as well. So now we're getting 1 through 14 have been taken either by you and myself on my list, and then you took Lindsay at 19. So now we're getting into it. So I'm gonna choose someone.
Do you want to list off quickly who's left?
All right, we have Kelly S. Purple Kelly. We have Mike Barassi. We have Colton Cumby. We have Gary.
Strydowski.
Yeah, Strydowski, Papa Smurf. We have Shamar. We have Nyanka, and we have Janu. Does that help? All right, I'm going to choose someone who is definitely not going to cause harmony among the tribe, but he could actually be fairly competent athletically and could help propel some of these other people farther along in the game. So I'm going to choose Shamar.
Yeah, I thought you might do that.
Were you going to choose him next?
No.
Okay. I think Shamar could be good. We'll have to see, but there's not a lot of choices here. And my next person is someone who we don't really know much about, but I think I think she's very good socially. So I'm going to choose a fifth girl, and I'm going to choose Purple Kelly, Kelly S.
One, 2, 3.
So you have two more picks left, right?
There were actually 10 girls on the list.
There wasn't 11?
No, there were 10. We originally thought there were only 9.
Oh, there's 10. Okay.
Yeah. But we only said you had to pick 4 girls. Because I was thinking of picking Kelly Shin, because I thought you already had your 4 girls. Or I thought you only had 3.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, I get 2 picks left, right?
Yes.
Okay. So my 2 picks, my first one, I'm going to pick someone who was proven to be pretty loyal, pretty likable, actually really good at challenges, surprisingly enough. I think a lot of people forget that he was actually pretty good at challenges, especially the pig snout eating challenge. So I'm going to pick Papa Smurf. He's got a lot of heart, and he really wanted to play. He was the only person on Survivor Fiji of the entire cast who filled out an application. So everyone else was recruited. So I'm going to pick Gary. And then for my last pick, say that again?
He was my next pick.
Yeah. My last pick, I'm struggling. I think I'm going to pick a girl, which will give me 5 girls as well. No, it gives me 4. Sorry, it gives me 4 girls. And I think I'm actually gonna pick Janu. The reason I'm gonna pick Janu, I don't think Janu quit because she couldn't handle the elements. It was because, according to her, she had gotten everything out of the experience that she wanted. And to me, that doesn't seem like someone who's going to quit again. It means that she can handle it. She was also a solid number for Karor. It seemed like she wasn't going to go anywhere. She seemed like a loyal soldier. Kobe has nothing but good things to say about Janu as a person, which means that she's probably a really likable person, and I think she could do well.
Yeah.
So you have one choice left to make, and only 3 choices. So you can pick Colton Cumbie, Bianca Mixon, or Mike Barassi, or as I like to call them, the Holy Trinity of Survivor.
I'm tempted to pick Nyanka, but is that, I guess I set a limit no more than 5 girls, right?
That is true. We did say that.
So technically I couldn't, because she'd be next on my list. So I'm going to have to choose Mike Barassi. If maybe he could, work out a little bit more before become a little more physically fit, and I think this time he could be good.
I don't think Mike's a bad pick. He was a little bit weird in Survivor Samoa. His edit was weird. But in that one challenge, that Schmergen Brawl challenge, he was trying hard, and he seems like he actually had a fairly strategically adept mind. He kind of knew what was going on, even though there was nothing. So I don't think he's actually as bad of a pick as you might think.
No. So that means Nyanka and Colton are the 2 off of the game. Did not make the cut.
They will be. Nyanka and Colton will actually start off on Redemption Island.
Okay.
They'll have a chance to win their way back in.
There you go. But let's go over our tribes. For me, I have Jonathan Penner, Jenna Maraska, Austin Taylor, Joe Dowdle, Courtney Moon, Kathy Sleckman, Sue Hawk, Shamar Thomas, is that his last name?
Yep.
Kelly Shin, and Mike Barassi. What do you have, Jeff?
My tribe is the ever-famous Eric Reichenbach, James Clement, Michael Skupin, Bruce Kanagai, Dana Lambert, Lindsay Ogle, Russell Swan, Julie McGee, and Gary Stridisky.
All right.
And Janu Camille.
And Janu. Interesting. It would be a very interesting season to see how many of these people would do well, would quit again, or get medically evacuated again, or just be a very interesting season.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I'm a little bit worried for the first time since in any of these drafts. I feel like you having Jonathan Penner is a really, really solid first pick. He's probably the most well-rounded player on the list, I think, in terms of strategic mind and physical ability.
Yeah. And I know you were bagging on her, but I think Jenna Maraska is a good pick.
I disagree. She would have been maybe, I wouldn't have not picked her, but she would definitely have been low on my list.
Well, I didn't pick her first, and I had
second.
Eric. Yeah, but you took Eric and James.
He was still your number 2 because you said Eric was your number 3 and James was your number 4.
It's true.
Ha! Ah!
I think she's won the game, which none of these other people can say. I think she's socially bright. I think she has some strategic smarts, and she's physically fit.
I just can't get behind that. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry.
And the thing is, I don't even hate Jenna as a winner. I would not want her on my team.
Why?
I just don't. I never saw it. I never understood the Jenna love. I don't even think there is Jenna love. I never understood this marginal amount of Jenna appreciation.
Okay. Well, agree to disagree. But anyways, let us know what you think about our drafts, which tribe you think would do better. Were we completely off for not taking Nyanka and Colton? Let us know. You can do that by checking out our Facebook group, David and Jeff Survivor Podcast, and leaving us a comment there, or on our website, survivorpodcast.blogspot.com.
Yes, and make sure that you hit the subscribe button on the iTunes. The podcast show up on your computer every single week. You don't even have to do it. We just show up. It's great.
Yeah, we're hoping to have JML back on in the next week or so stay tuned for that. But we'll be here, keep talking about Survivor, and I'm looking forward to the season.
A lot more than I think a lot of people are, and I'm really excited to see how how it all plays out.
Yeah.
We've got a war.
We got a war. Will my quasi pick to win Jeremy beat Jeff's quasi pick to win Josh?
Yes.
At least we quasi picked good people, Jeff.
We did. We picked good people's loved ones.
Yeah. Yes, we did.
Remember when we were having the preview episode with Kathy, and everyone, and all three of us were like, "So this Josh Reed pair, man, that Josh guy, he's a total jerk. He's got no chance. No one would ever vote for him to win."
Yeah.
But that Reed, man, that Reed. Let me tell you about Reed.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, stay tuned for that. But thank you guys so much for watching and/or listening. We'll be back next week. Goodbye.
Bye.